These are the fusion rifles that I'm going to be bringing with me in Heresy for those that are interested, and you can cross-reference your rolls in your vault to do a little vibe check just to see if you're on the right path for your fusion rifle rolls, whether that be standard fusion and linear fusion rifles, and talk a little bit about the exotics at the end. So I'll categorize it and timestamp the video so it's easy to follow. I'm not going to be deep diving into charge times, mag perks, or barrels. Guardian, the means of the darkness are knocking on your door and you're messing around in the glaive with barrels? Who's going to carry the logs and the boats? I'll have to then, because you're messing around with barrels. So I'm not. Let's dial in the video. I don't want the video to be 89 minutes long. I want it to be short-ish and sweet, and talk about what you need to bring with you and use your common sense. Let's use common sense today, people. So, first category is standard fusion rifles. So my Warlock has all my standard fusions, so I can show you them easier. My linears are on my Titan, and then exotics are on my Hunter, I think. Right, so let's talk kinetic slot. There are not many fusion rifles in the kinetic slot that you need. For PVE, this is going to cover everything for your basis, these rolls. There are other fusions, disclaimer, there are other fusions, but the fusions that I have, honestly, if you have them, you're good, you're golden. If I can solo with these fusions, then you can definitely use them in a team effectively. Get it? Alright, so first and foremost, you need a chill clip Riptide of some sort. You can do lead from gold chill clip. You can do the bento token chill clip, the one that was for sale. I recommend new players, you pick it up. Don't bother about shacks, it's worth the one token. All the stuff that you can buy for bento tokens is trash, basically. Most of it's trash. So for a newer player who needs to quickly get a Riptide before Tuesday, because it's going to be one of the most important weapons in the game, just go and buy it. I even bought it, so I've got two, dude. Yeah, I've got two. So what? I want to see what it's like with compulsive reloader, and it was worth the token for me. But yeah, this role is better, because field prep is absolutely goated in PVE. But I'm just saying, you want a chill clip Riptide so that it can stun overloads, barriers, and unstops. Right? Very good. And the fact that they are nerfing rocket sidearms, you're going to see a little bit more fusion rifle usage. Yes, it is barrier sidearm, but the game's going to be a little bit more balanced in terms of fusion rifle to rocket sidearm usage between the two. Yes, Tenacious Mastery is there with chill clip, but Riptide will do more damage than a Tenacious Mastery because rocket sidearms are getting nerfed. 30%, it's a lot. Right, now you've had a utility one. Let's argue, let's play devil's advocate. If you have a deliverance, craft it with the roll with demo chill clip enhanced. Because of the amount of grenade energy you get back off the enhanced demo, deliverance is really good. The problem with deliverance PvE, people, is that it's a slower charge time and not as good as Riptide. You're talking to somebody who has used both. I've only just freshly crafted deliverance today, but I have used chill clip deliverance in the past, and it's good, but Riptide's just that much better than it. The archetype is better in PvE. More favourable is a rapid fire frame over precise frames are good though as well, because they've done some adjustments, but if you want to freeze quicker, Riptide is the thing. Don't let people discredit you by saying that deliverance is better. Not exactly. I don't think so. I think Riptide's better, and that's coming from somebody who would solo with this. I would rather solo with a Riptide than a deliverance. I'm sorry, but that's just exactly what it is. But that does not mean deliverance isn't good. And it's got a better origin perk. It has a better origin perk than Riptide. So those are the facts. Those are your utility fusions that you're ever going to need. Now let's talk about damage fusion. For example, you're in the dungeon, right? Now remember when Warlord's Rune coming out, everyone used a control burst scatter signal that you can craft, and it's Strand. One of the best damage style fusions in the game. Rapid fire frame as well. It doesn't suffer from the wrong archetype. This is one of the best fusions in the game. You need to craft it with overflow, control burst. I'm not going into the bowels as I've said. That's kinetic fusions covered. That will cover all your stuff for fusions. Right, legendary fusions. If you've got a Cartesian coordinate, whip it out next season. But I suspect that you may not have this. But if you do whip it out, Vorpal is good. Don't be construed on special weapons. Vorpal is a 15% buff, which is nice. And there are higher buffs, and I'm going to go into it in a minute. I'm going to go into what fusions you want. But Cartesian's just a very good, nice fusion to use. It's a rapid fire frame, as I said, with a low. The charge time's better, you see, because of the frame. That's what I forgot to mention with Chill Clip, with the Riptide. It's got a better charge time because it's a rapid fire frame. Okay? Right, now you've got that. Next one, you want a Wyvern Gaze fusion rifle of some sort. Now, if you don't have this, use the dungeon one. That's if you've even got the dungeon fusion. The one from Vesper's Host has Wyvern Gaze. I don't even have the roll. But if you do, have a look if you've got it or not. Have a look if you've got a Wyvern Gaze fusion. It's not the end of the world if you don't, but if you do have it, it's good because it weakens. So this will double buff. A Wyvern Gaze fusion rifle will have particle reconstruction and a debuff in it. See what I'm on about? Right, next. No Composure was an old fusion from back in the day that we used to use. It was fantastic to use. High Impact Reserve, whilst it's not that good of a perk, the overall use of the fusion was so good. Again, I put it down to that it being a rapid fire frame. Not to say that I'm going to use this, I just thought I'll give it a mention. Right, Royal Executioner. I don't like this fusion, but I'm mentioning it because somebody will. Envious Assassin, Reservoir Burst. Because of Reservoir Burst, it interacts with the Envious Assassin in quite a unique way. So I'm just saying, look, there's something there to craft. You can craft Royal Execution if you want, but it's not my top go-to. Reservoir Burst is okay, but there's better perks than Reservoir Burst. Right, next, Loaded Question if you've got one, with a good auto-loan holster, Control Burst, some reload perk in this column, and then a Control Burst. Control Burst is the best fusion rifle perk, basically, that you can think of on legendary fusions. So, Loaded Question, also very good. Got some okay, I guess it's got some okay origin traits. Nothing to shout about though. It's a different type of fusion. It's a high impact frame, so it isn't going to give you that Riptide feel or Scatter Signal feel. Different archetypes, still decent in the game. Yeah, Control Burst fusions. Okay, the Eremite. Envious Assassin, Control Burst. Right, now, this is a craftable fusion, and it's a fantastic. The origin trait's not very good, but it puts out massive damage. And I know it's not rapid fire frame, but high impacts are, you know, they're okay. They're better than you think, but they're not quite as good as the rapid fire frames. Rapid fire frame's still king, but because of how good Eremite is, it sort of punches above its weight, is what I'm trying to say. Don't be sleeping on the Eremite. That is also a gun. Tachyon Force. Now, I actually rather like this fusion just because of how it feels. Its charge time's rather unique. It's not high impact. It's not rapid fire. It's in between. It's not even as slow as a precision frame either. So, I'll be using Tachyon Force. It's got Reconstruction, Control Burst. It's craftable. I can enhance the perks if I wish. That's another rule. Okay, this one's the light... the foul shape one. It has Reconstruction, Control Burst. Also decent. Reconstruction's very nice on a fusion. Very good. So is Envious Assassin, though. I'm just giving you multiple roles, plethora of information. Ultimately, you want a reload perk and a damage buff. Reload perk, damage buff. Like, we can categorize Envious Assassin as a reload perk because you're not reloading because of it, right? So you want, you know, good mag size, damage perk. Good mag size, damage perk. This is a utility energy fusion with Vault Shot. It's the light 4 fusion. Vault Shot. It's got Vault Shot on it. Now, compulsive reload for Vault Shot's actually kind of nice on this. Now, that will allow you to stun overloads and unstops because it's unstoppable fusion next season. So, there's utility there. There's utility with the iterative loop. For example, not a damage fusion, it's a utility fusion to allow you to stun 2 champs. Right, that's the legendary fusions done. It's really straightforward, legendary fusions. You don't need to complicate it. Just damage buff, reload perk, or mag perk. or something of that nature. That is it. And then you chill clip and make sure you got a DPS fusion like scatter signal and emerite, depending on which slot you go within a Wyvern Gaze fusion and control burst. It's all summarized, easy for you to understand. Let's switch. Let's go quick. Who's gonna? The minions of the darkness are knocking at the door. It's coming up to Tuesday. Right, Titan, because my Titan has the linear. Right, now we're going to talk heavier linear fusions, heavier linear fusion rifles, okay? Now there's going to be a lot of tidbits of information that you probably didn't know about linear fusions, because I know quite a bit about them. Okay, so linear fusions that you want. This is one that you want to craft. Now you can farm this weapon via Operation Seraph Shield. You can get red borders, if people didn't know. And you can get it from the gunsmith, I think so. I think I've seen it at the... Yeah, you can get it at the gunsmith. Anyways, the role that you want... There's multiple roles that you want on this linear. But if you want a utility linear like Riptide, but in the heavy slot, here it is. Field Prep Chill Clip. Now you're going to say, hang on a sec, this doesn't sound good. Well, because it's an adaptive burst linear, you can chill clip 3 times per shot. Because it fires 3 shots per round. Each individual shot will apply chill clip. This is a slept on linear. You need to go and get it quickly. I have showcased this to you in a solo GM. Most of you missed it. You're sleeping on fire and forget. Go and get it. This isn't the only role you can get on it as well. I have an overroll on it, a damage version of it. So you want a damage version of Fire and Forget. 2 crafted versions of Fire and Forget. Damage one and utility one. This is the utility role. And Field Prep's absolutely fantastic on it. There you go. Go and craft Fire and Forget quickly. You're going to miss out. It's so good. It's unbelievably good. Right, you want a Wyvern Gaze linear if you've got one. If you haven't, then rely on your energy fusion to do the Wyvern Gazing. I haven't got the best roll. Oh, it's all right actually. No, now I'm looking at it. And not only that, it's got Vice Stinger. Vice Sting is the best origin trait for linear fusions. It's the best origin trait for linear fusions because it reloads. All right, now Frenzy, don't sniff on Frenzy. It's a 15% buff, and it gives reload. It's very good, is Frenzy. Look, I've got a buff here and a debuff. This is very good roll. Now, there is better than this, but it's the only Wyvern Gaze linear that I kept from Christmas. But I'm just saying to you, check your Wyvern Gaze linear fusion rifles rolls of Mistral Lift. Right? Okay, he's a damage style one. Reconstruction. And I've got options for Envious Assassin. Reconstruction's fantastic on a linear because you don't need to do anything and it doubles the mag. Precision Instrument... Frenzy. Precision Instrument's a higher buff than Frenzy, but you will lose damage more likely than Frenzy. So it's less consistent as Precision Instrument. Precision Instrument's very good, but it's slightly less consistent than Frenzy. But Frenzy is a less damage buff, but more consistent. So you're playing a game of cards. See, you need to balance it off. It depends on what you're doing in the game, depending on whether you choose Frenzy or Precision Instrument. But the answer is just to have both. Have both. Have a Precision Instrument LFR. Have a Frenzy LFR. Have a Bait and Switch LFR. We'll go on and on and on with this. Let's go. Next one. I've got a Scintillation, Adept, Envious Assassin, Bait and Switch. And I've got a Rewind Rounds one, which is very good with Rewind, but it's also very good with Envious. Just remember with Envious, you can't overload the mag to 200%. If you surge switch, you lose a portion of that. But you can double the mag and still surge switch. You need to listen to that. You need to have listened to that carefully to understand what I've just said. Bait and Switch linears, they're literally going to be the best damage style linears you can think of. Apart from a surrounded one, but let's go on to that in a minute. Oh, I've got it here. So Doom Petitioner, it comes with a lot of damage buffs. You can craft it with Precision Instrument and stuff like that, and I believe Frenzy as well. Surrounded linears are the highest damage linears. The problem with them is that they're not very practical and they're too niche. So the upside is you get a higher damage buff, but you need to keep a lot of enemies around. And that ain't going to always happen. So, here's the tip. Have the surrounded linear. Keep it in that back pocket. But don't rely on it. You may want to use Bait and Switch instead. It's a more accessible, easier perk to get your damage buff on. Got it? Those are the distinction. Cataclysmic. We all should know about the Cataclysmic. 4 times the charm, bait and switch. If you've got it, pull it out. It's obviously amazing. And you can keep reloading the mag. Storm Chaser. Because it's an adaptive burst, it's different to your precision frames. So here's the distinction between a precision frame and the free round burst, is that the free round burst is a little bit better up close. 15 to 20 meters, you're sometimes better off with the free round burst fusions. But if you're playing further away from that, you're going to experience what's known as range drop off. Then you are better with a precision frame linear. Right? You need to master both archetypes. This is very important to know. You need to master and know the difference between an adaptive frame, right, and a precision frame, and when to use each one. You need to be masterful with that. I've already learned my craft. It's up to you now to learn yours. Right, next. I'll leave that in a minute. Salespeople pitch class, it's a very good one. You can craft it with other perks, but you can use it as a utility linear as well. So you can go 2 ways. You can have it as a damage style linear. I think it gets frenzy, which again, don't be sleeping on no frenzy. Frenzy is good and very consistent, always works. You know, it's not as much damage as bait and switch. Bait and switch is double the damage buff. It's 30%, I believe, isn't it? Bait and switch is 30% plus. Frenzy is 15%. But again, you know, don't be sleeping on frenzy. Vault Shot, this linear will stun unstops and overloads. It will stun both champs, so this is more of a utility one. I'm just saying that's there available. Right, Taipan, everyone can craft this. I believe everyone has access to this. I think even new lights do, right? I don't know. I honestly don't know, but I know that you could craft. This was the quest to unlock the damn glaive thing. The crafting table, wasn't it, with the Taipan? It was part of all that quest back in 2022. Anyways, triple tap, frenzy. It's a very, very consistent linear fusion rifle. If you don't have cataclysmic, this will simulate cataclysmic damage, but not as much. But on longer damage phases, you know, it starts to do a little bit better with the triple tap and Vice Stinger. It's a Vice Stinger origin trait. So I'm just saying, look, have that in your back pocket. And then finally, box breathing. Okay, so box breathing. For acute viewers who watched Vendetta with his DPS against the Witness on one of his clips, he used the old box breathing Tarantula because the damage phase was infinite. I believe probably when he was soloing the Witness. The damage phase was infinite on the second or third wave or whatever, and it was better to use a box breathing linear because it's more damage per single shot. There is a trick with box breathing. There is a very trick. Don't. You need a box breathing linear in your back pocket, just like you need a bait and switch one. So let's hope you've got a big pocket, because you need a lot of these linears that I'm mentioning, and they are all different in unique situations. Box breathing is very unique, and it ain't always going to be something. What I will tell you is, it's good for Grandmaster Nightfalls because there's no real DPS requirements. It's good on champs because it saves ammo. It's very ammo economical, is box breathing. So it's something, I believe, what level is this? So box breathing, I'm just thinking now, I can't infuse Tarantula, can I? It's not letting me. Oh yeah, I can. What am I talking about? What am I talking about? Of course I can infuse it. I got a little dumb there for a minute. By the way, box breathing's on a couple of linears. It's on Taipan as well. It's on Taipan. Box breathing, you can get it here in this column. I'm just saying, for champ damage and stuff like that, it's pretty good. There is a trick to it. There is a trick, and I know that it's slower than other damage perks, but there is a trick to sort of re-ADS. Hit your box breathing shot, then ADS again, hit your box breathing shot. Vendetta is the best player I've saw use Tarantula in that way, and I used to use it in that way as well back in the day, long time ago. As you can see, 1282 kills. That's all champ kills, that is. 1,282 champs. That's what that is. Tarantula, man. Don't forget about it. But there's box breathing on other linears. Use D2 Foundry to find out all the linears, but Taipan does have it. Alright, so those are the legendary linears. Let's move on swiftly. because the minions of the darkness are at my door, and I've only got a certain amount of time. Right, these are exotic linears. Exotic linears. Okay, so in the kinetic slot, we haven't got much. Exotic linears and exotic fusions. You've got Euphony, right? The strand linear fusion that sits in the kinetic slot. That's going to be something that you're going to want to think about. There's also Briar's Contempt, right? A legendary linear fusion that I haven't mentioned. There's Vex Mythoclast, because that gets the buff because it's classed as a fusion rifle and it does an all fire, right, with the linear fusion with built in it. Okay, Arbalest isn't that good. Arbalest has been tested and it's not good. I'm just showing you that it's there. Barrier Champs it's Barrier Sidearm next week, which I'm not a fan of. I'll explain maybe later on in videos why I'm not a fan of it. And it's not because of having to play close up. It's nothing to do with that. I just don't like Barrier Sidearm that much. But there is a unique thing that you can do with Barrier Sidearm, but that'll be for a different video. Something that you might not be thinking about. But yeah, Arbalest isn't king. The only thing Arbalest is useful for is Ghost of the Deep now. Its damage just isn't there. So, but it is a thing, it's there. Bastion got a huge buff now, and he's now a DPS contender. You want to infuse Bastion and use it next week because of the buffs that it is getting. It also has intrinsic unstop, which there's unstoppable fusion next week anyways, but I'm just mentioning it. Okay, so that's the kinetic slot done. Remember, as I say, there's Euphony as well. I have mentioned it before you say that I haven't. Okay, Delicate Term's getting a huge buff. Damage, it's getting a huge buff on damage. Also, when you collect an Ionic Trace, it jolts targets on hit. So you can stun overloads and unstoppable champions with this. It's going to be a very good weapon, is Delicate Term, next week. I don't know if it's going to be meta-defining though. I think it's going to be a good 8 out of 10. I'm not expecting it to be a 10 out of 10 fusion. I'm expecting it to be an 8 or 9 out of 10. I'm looking forward more to the Telesto buff. To be honest with you, I think the Telesto buff's going to be more prevalent than what the Delicate Tomb is, because Telesto already does the damage right now. It already does the damage now. It's going to get Old Gods Right. The artifact mod, Old Gods Right, where you get the Void Pill. It's going to be similar to that, but it'd be Telesto bolts. Telesto's getting a huge buff. A lot of stuff's going on with it. It's something that you want to consider. Jotun is a fusion rifle, and it has infinite range. Shield Disorient, if you're up against Solar Shields, is very good, especially Solar Wizards. Best Solar Wizard weapon in the game, really. Jotun is always good when there's fusion rifle mods up, and you can stun an unstoppable champion from 50 yards away. Okay, it's 50 meters. It's crazy, Jotun. Jotun is something to be thinking about, and it's not a DPS weapon per se, but it is there. Also, I forgot Merciless. I haven't got Merciless on my character. So Merciless is a damage style fusion that's very good, especially when you get a kill. So I have mentioned it, Merciless. I forgot to put that in on my hunter. So there's Merciless as well. Look out for Merciless because of how much damage it does. Okay. An exotic linear Lawrence Driver. Now this is meant to be a build with the Prowl Hunter next week. We will see. I don't really like this weapon in PVE right now, but I'll have to see what it's like next week. I'm not super excited for it though, I'm being honest. I'll check out to see what it's going to be like next week. Alright. Sleeper Simulant, one of the best linears in the game. If you don't have a well-rolled linear, the auto LFG weapon, if you like, is Sleeper. So if you're like up against a dungeon boss and you're like, linears are the meta, more often than not, you're better off just putting on Sleeper. It's very forgiving because even if you don't hit your crit, it has a high body shot damage, higher body shot damage than any other linear. Sleeper is fantastic, and I foresee something going on with Sleeper, especially if you can ricochet your shot. If you're up against a boss where you can ricochet your shot and there's some sort of ricochet shot going on, which we've had it in the past. We've had it in the past where that was a thing. I'm just saying, look, keep your eyes on Sleeper. It does very high damage per shot. especially with triple solar weapon surge. This has carried me and goes to the deep. Solar flawless goes to the deep. I use sleeper, right? I have used it. It's really good. If legendary linears aren't hitting hard enough for you, for example, then sleeper's generally the answer. It has been. Anyways, Queenbreaker. So Queenbreaker's going to get a change where you can switch between marksman sites and combat sites. So you see how now I'm going to 300 charge time? Well, you don't want to do that in PVE right now, right? Well, next week, apparently, if you've got marksman sight on and then you alt fire mid damage or something, you get a quicker charge time, but you keep your damage. You don't lose the impact. See the impact? So there's going to be something going on with Queenbreakers next week. It's also something that you need to keep your eye on. And Queenbreaker has gotten buff upon buff upon buff of recent times, making it climb the meta ladder. It ain't quite there yet, probably, but we'll see what it's like next week. Also, it stuns unstops. It blinds unstops. It will stop an unstoppable champion, but it would anyways, I guess. But I'm just saying it has that blind verb to it. So you can build into it with the blind, and it blinds. This should be highlighted, this, as a blue word, text word. Right, and finally, 1000 Voices. 1000 Voices is not a linear fusion, and it's not a trace rifle. It is a fusion in the heavy slot. That's exactly what it is. And there was a meta with 1k Voices the last time particle deconstruction come up. So I foresee that this will also happen again. Whilst it has low ammo and it is only 12, you can still make it work. You can still make damage rotations work with 1k Voices. Right now in the game, I prove that to you. Because it scorches, right? Because it scorches, you can build into it with the solar builds. With Ember of Ashes, Ember of the Ignitions and all that sort of stuff, you can build into it. The only thing is with 1k Voices, it's rare weapon. So is Euphony. Euphony is rarer than 1k. From the analytics that I have seen online, not many people have Euphony and not many people have 1k, but more people have 1k than what they do Euphony. I'm just saying, if you run a Wither and Gaze fusion in the special slot, the one I showed you before, and you use that with 1k, you're going to be doing a lot of damage per shot. A lot of damage per shot. So 1k is not off meta. It's sort of within that realm now of being really good in the game. I've been doing testing with you, as you've saw the clips of recent days. It's something to be considered. The only thing as well is you can die easy to it. So it's only good for long range engagements. When you're doing long range DPS engagements, that's when it's good. If you're up close and personal up against the boss, ain't no way we're using this. But that's the identity of the gun. It's situational, obviously. So that is your fusion rifle stuff that I'm going to be bringing for next week. Yeah, just remember that the number one thing to take away from this is make sure you got that Riptide. Make sure you got some, even if the first trait isn't very good, make sure you've got some capacity to get that chill clip Riptide. It's worth spending a token on, bento token, if you do not have crucible engrams. If you don't have crucible engrams to roll, you're rolling the dice with Shacks. Shacks might not give you it. In 50 engrams, you might not get a chill clip fusion because it's RNG. Go and spend a bento token if you do not have a chill clip Riptide, because you only have a few days left until next week, and you need a chill clip fusion because it stuns all champs. And because of everything that's going on with fusions, it's that important to the game again. We're back to doing Riptide things. Again, if you've got Deliverance, you also craft that as well, because that has some niches with its demo, with its enhanced demo, and you can enhance with grenades and stuff. But ultimately, Riptide is going to be more universally critically acclaimed because that rapid fire frame. If Deliverance was a rapid fire frame, I would tell you Deliverance is better, but honestly it isn't. It's just not quite as good. It's got better perks, it's got a better trait, but the damn frame isn't quite there. Anyways, that was the video on this. Hope you enjoyed. Thank you.